Hello again, YouTube. It's Skylar. Welcome back to my face. And in today's video, I'm going to be going over transgender politicians in America. Alright, before we get into it, please remember to subscribe to the channel down below. It actually really does help me get my videos out to more people so that my message can get out. So, if you hadn't noticed, I have been changing my YouTube thumbnail pics. So if you've seen that they're changing or they're switching back and forth, that's I'm just experimenting with different artistic styles and I'm just playing around with them in general. So don't mind that. If you have any comments, suggestions that you'd like to see if I different type of aesthetic, let me know. I'm just trying to work the artwork a little differently. That's just my own personal preference. So let's get into it. So about 8 years ago to almost today, I made a video called Transgender Politicians. And back then, there wasn't really much to talk about because the number of trans politicians in America was relatively very small. And so there was just not that many trans people that were elected officials. That's actually changed in the past 8 years. We have probably close to hundreds of trans people that have both ran for office and gotten elected. Most notably, I'm not going to go over a list of every single trans person in politics, but the most notable exceptions are Representative Zoe Zephr of Montana and Sarah McBride, the first transgender U.S. Congresswoman. And that is actually huge. She was elected, Miss Sarah, she was elected back in November, which was probably the only good thing, the only good news that came out of that election last year. And being the very first openly trans woman to be elected to Congress is a milestone that's unprecedented. It shows a level of progress that has been made that 50 years ago, the notion that a trans person could even run for office in the first place wasn't even really conceivable. So the fact that we've gone so far and made so much progress through education and trying to reduce the stigmatization of trans people, it really is something to celebrate. And I know with everything going on right now, it's hard to find the good and the bad, but the little victories like that is really what we should be focusing our attention on so that we can make it through all of the negative news cycle that keeps coming every single day. So there are many other trans people that have both run for office and gotten elected. State, local, municipal, judges, teachers associations, just all different down the lines of government official work. And that's huge. And a lot of those people are actually in deep red states. And so that's actually really important too. And I don't know if anybody else has been following up on Representative Zoe Zephyr's work in Montana. She's a representative, the district of Missoula, which is the main city in Montana. But her voice and her being there in the state Congress has actually flipped votes that would otherwise have voted towards anti-transgender legislation. And not just like Democrats and independents, but actual Republicans have switched votes because of her influence. And that is the core of what I wanted to talk about in this video. Because it's not just about, well, you got elected, so it's not a big deal because it's in a city that's progressive, or no, these people don't understand how powerful one trans voice is in a position of power like that. The level of dehumanization that trans people have faced in society makes it very difficult for us to exist on mainstream media. And because of the stigmatization and discrimination, our voices and our issues don't get brought up and addressed from our point of view. And so when you see the news, pick any number of them, and you see, oh, just anti-trans this, anti-trans that. They never have any trans people there to give commentary on it. It's always cisgender people. And so the trans perspective and the trans person's voice never gets heard. And so we go back to that echo chamber problem. When all you ever hear is one side, then that's the only information that those people have to go off of. So even if they would normally have been more accepting, they're only going to base their assertion off of the things that they've been told. And so getting trans people elected, even to small local offices, has such a powerful effect. I, for one, having lived for over a decade now as a trans person in a very conservative rural area, have made a tremendous difference in my community towards the attitudes of trans people just by existing. There are I can't put a number on it, but there are countless numbers of people that have interacted with me over the years and seen me just being a normal person, going to work, going to the grocery store, just existing in society, that have truly changed their mind on how they view trans people. And I know this because some of those people have approached me and told me this, that because they knew me, they got to know me, or they even just saw me, it changed their mind, or at least it gave them some pause to reconsider the things that they used to hold as their own personal beliefs towards this minority group. And so when you have somebody like Zoe Zephr get elected into a state congress of a state that is predominantly red, that has a massive impact. And I can't even begin to tell you how many people that are trans in Montana are now going to live happier and safer lives because Representative Zephr actually blocked and educated people on trans issues so that those types of legislations didn't go through. So you have to kind of see this as a multi-pronged approach. It's education and information like what I'm doing is very important, yes. But political action needs to be taken because even the most well-intentioned people, as I stated last video, can be misinformed and still make bad decisions based on that information. So, a lot of these representatives, they're not terrible people. They just don't know any better because they've never really been exposed to trans people or seen trans people. So having somebody like Zoe Zephr there and hearing her story, her testimony, when she speaks and brings up her experience, it resonates with people because it should, because we're just humans and we have human experiences that other humans have. It's just that we have a different walk of life than typically what you would associate with a typical trans or a cisgender individual. But once you remove that barrier and see that, yes, we are exactly the same, we just have this different way that we exist, but we exist the same nonetheless, people go, oh, okay, well, I get it now. I don't know what the big problem was. I don't know what I was so worried about. I don't know why I was so angry. And they move on. There's obviously going to be some people that don't, but that number is vanishingly small. And, you can't convince every single person. We can only affect the whole of society. So this is why, even though it's very difficult for trans people to run for office because it is kind of almost dangerous in a way, because it puts the trans person under an immense spotlight and magnifying glass, it is really important that people who are trans, non-binary, or gender non-conforming get involved in politics just beyond typically voting. And a representative democracy is not a spectator sport. We can't get anything done by just assuming that the good people are going to have all the answers and all the solutions. It has to come from everybody. We all have to have a part in this. And I understand, I've heard people say, well, I can't do this, that, or the other. That's fine. But if you're somebody who does have the ability to do so, and you do have a way of getting involved in the political process, and you have the free time to do it, why not do it? Like, why not get involved? This representative democracy only works when there's participation from the populace. We have to all put in a part of this. That's why the reason why I'm running for office, and you probably wouldn't have expected me to say that, which is why I saved it to this later part of the video. But I actually, back in November, after the election, got involved with my party, the Democratic Party, and decided that it was time for me to run for office. And so I am, and I'm running for state representative. And so if I do win, the election would be next year in November. I would be a lawmaker for the entire state of Nevada. Now, whether I win or not is to be determined. I'm not going to expect that I'm going to win, but I'm also not going to expect that I'm going to lose either. And so I know that I'm doing my part by getting involved in the process, and I have been involved in the process for many years. If you want to see a quick example, I put a link in the description from Bernie Sanders' channel. It's one of his videos of the rallies that he did. I was actually standing next to him the entire rally, and you can see me in the video. I was very proud of that moment because I was actually, at that time back in 2019, I was on his campaign. I was actually campaigning for him in the state of Nevada. And I did that because I knew that the stakes were too high to not act. I had to get involved, and so I did. And even though Bernie Sanders didn't win the primary, he did win the state of Nevada. And so in some small way, in some measurable way, I am content and I have no regrets with the fact that I did what I could to try to help in the political process to get things accomplished. Now, if I hadn't been involved, would he have still won the state of Nevada? Maybe. Maybe not. But I know that I pushed the needle in the right direction. I know that by getting out there and doing everything, phone banking, canvassing, and I was really involved. I was a little upset that I didn't get the chance to spend a little more time with him after the rally, because after his speech, I shook hands with him and everything, and I was trying to get an autograph because I had his book, and I wanted to autograph in his book. And unfortunately, he just didn't have enough time. He had to get to Vegas on a flight that was about to leave. So he, it is, that's the lizard. Told you she was going to make an appearance. But yeah, it's so important right now that as many people as possible get involved. And I'm not saying that everybody has to go and suddenly register to run for office, but getting involved in your local, party chapter, going to your Democratic headquarters, and getting involved and just being like, hey, what can I do? What can I help with? And I'm sure that they're always going to have things that you can do to help. And if you do ever plan on running for office, that's a great way to get involved so that you can meet new people and actually get, have a resume of, hey, look at the things that I've done. And so it's not just about, being in the process. It's just, I get enjoyment from the fact that I'm making a difference. I truly have a better spirit of will because of the fact that I know that I'm actively working towards trying to help make the world a better place. And even if sometimes things don't go the way that we want them to, like the last election, I know that I did everything that I could to try to help. And so I don't have any regrets in that regard. It just means that we just need to, keep pushing forward and keep trying, because unless we speak up, unless we get out, things will not change. And I, for one, am not going to sit back and have my rights taken away as a trans person. I don't want to see my rights taken away. I don't want to see anyone's rights taken away. And so I will do what I can in solidarity with everyone to try to help people in any way that I can. And so that's why I'm politically involved. And so with that said, if you enjoy my content, please remember again to subscribe to the channel. It really does make a difference. I have a ton of new videos planned up for the next 2 months here. I'm really excited about some projects that I'm working on, and I would tremendously appreciate the support. Also, I have a Patreon set up. There's no pressure or anything. It's just there if people want to become a member. If not, nothing will change about my channel. You don't have to. I'm not going to lose sleep if you don't. It's completely fine. I just wanted to have that as an option available for people who did want to help support me financially. And I do plan on eventually making exclusive members-only content so that people that are Patreon members, they still get access to some exclusive content, and, so they're still getting your money's worth somewhere. That way it's just not, feeling like you're just contributing, but it would really help. So with that said, like, share, and subscribe, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you guys all in the next video. Bye.